Now, this is actually a good thing. As humans, this keeps us safe. Dr. Paul Ekman has studied something called the microexpression. It's a universal facial expression, and he's discovered there are 7 of them. Across genders and races, we all make the same expression when we feel an intense emotion. This is the fear microexpression. So fear is a really important emotion because we want to catch it from someone else to warn us if something's about to go wrong. And this facial expression also keeps us safe. So imagine for a second that you're walking and you see a snake. Your eyelids and your eyebrows jump out of the way so you can take in as much of the environment as possible. Is there another snake? What's my escape route? Then your mouth opens so you can take in oxygen in case you have to fight, yell for help, or flee. We make this face before we consciously realize we've seen a snake. Now, what's interesting about it is you should be starting to feel a little bit anxious. And that is because when we see other people have fear, if we saw this face in the subway, we would be like, what's wrong? What's going on? Because it keeps us safe. So I want you to try it with me. So open your eyes as wide as possible. Raise your eyebrows up. Very good. Now take in a sharp breath. Perfect. Do you feel anxious? What's interesting about facial expressions is they cause our emotions. So not only do our emotions cause our face, but our face also causes our emotions. It's called the facial feedback hypothesis. So when we see someone with this face, we catch their emotion, and then we are ready to fight, flee, or yell for help. Luckily, this also works with positive emotions. So one of the faces behind me is a real happiness microexpression, and one of them is fake. So the real happiness microexpression is when the smile reaches all the way up into these upper crow's feet muscles, those upper cheek muscles. And this is really important because you know when you tell a frenemy good news and they say they're happy for you, but you know they're not really? It looks like this. Oh yeah, I'm so happy for you. So try the fake expression for me first. So just try this fake smile, only on the bottom half of the face. You can even go, Doesn't feel so good, right? It feels inauthentic. Now go all the way up into your eyes. So smile all the way up into the upper cheek muscles. That should feel so much better. So what's interesting about this facial expression is it causes our own happiness. And we also catch it when we see it. Researchers at the University of Finland looked at these 2 facial expressions, and they had participants look at photos of people with real happiness and fake happiness. They found that when they showed participants pictures of the real happiness smile, those emotions caught the positive emotions, and they themselves had a positive mood change. But when they looked at the face with the fake happiness smile, they caught nothing. In other words, if we show up to events that we're ambivalent about, interact with people that we don't really like, we become less memorable. This doesn't just happen in person, it also happens on the phone. So I work with a lot of different clients, corporate clients who are on the phone all the time. They said, Vanessa, I get being happy in person, but how about on the phone? So we decided to do an experiment where we had participants in our lab record different versions of their hello, the first impression on the phone. We wanted to know if people could hear happiness, sadness, or anger. So we had people record different versions of their hello with happiness, sadness, anger, and while power posing. We wanted to see if they would sound different. So I want to play you 2 different versions of hello and see if you can guess which one is the happy hello. Are you ready? All right, same person. Here's A.
Hello?
Here's B.
Hello?
How many people think A is the happy hello? How many people think B is the happy hello? Very good. We can hear this difference. We can hear this microexpression. Now, I thought this was interesting, but I wanted to take it a step further. So we devised a second part of our experiment where we had participants in our lab listen to these recordings and rate that person on likability. We wanted to see if the happiness microexpressions or the anger microexpressions or the power posing expressions did better. Here's what happened. After we asked people, I do like this person a lot, I like this person a little, or I do not like this person, we found that the happiness microexpressions across all trials for both men and women, they became more likable. Whereas the same person who made an anger or sadness microexpression were less likable. This is the happy side effect of having your confidence be contagious. Not only do you infect someone else with that happiness, you also become more likable. We talked about nonverbal, and I have to talk about what comes after the hello. How do we infect confidence verbally? So in this study we did in Portland, Oregon, we took 500 speed networkers, and we asked each of these speed networkers to go through a conversation starter round, 8 of these rounds. So we assigned each participant a conversation starter to have with a stranger. Then we set up cameras in all corners of the room, and we analyzed each of these speed rounds for patterns. We were looking for body language patterns, leans, nods, laughs, smiles, confidence. We were also looking for volume differences. In a really good conversation, usually the volume goes up. In a really awkward, bad conversation, there's lots of silences and the volume goes down. And we also asked each of the participants to rate the conversation starters. We wanted to know which ones produced the highest quality of conversation. What we found is that the conversation starters that worked centered on this little chemical called dopamine. So dopamine is the neurotransmitter that we produce when we feel pleasure or when we get a reward. And I noticed that most of our chit chat that we have at parties or networking events is the same. It sounds like this. So, what do you do? Where are you from? Live around here? Oh, well, I'm gonna go get some more wine. It's great talking to you. Those conversations happened over and over again. It was almost as if they were socially scripted. My brain was on autopilot. What we found is the worst ranked conversation starters, the ones that got the lowest ratings, the ones that produced the lowest volume, the ones that got the most leans away, worst head nods, and worst micro expressions, those were the ones that we use the most. What do you do? How are you? Where are you from? From a physiological perspective, have no effect, no pleasure. So what we tried was to find conversation starters that could spark or create some kind of excitement. Can you verbally trigger dopamine? And we found that the brain is really interesting. If you ask the brain a question, it tends to look for hits and not misses. What I mean by this is if you ask someone, been busy lately? Their brain immediately looks for all the hits of been busy. They think about all the negative things that have happened, the stress, the busyness, all the bad things in their life. Whereas if you ask someone, working on anything exciting recently? Their brain immediately begins to look for all the hits of excitement. They start thinking of all the good, all the happy things, all the excitement that's going on in their own life. And that does 2 things. 1, it creates pleasure for them. You're literally asking them to borrow excitement from other places in their life and bring it to the situation that you're in. And the other thing that it does is it makes you more memorable. Dr. John Medita found that dopamine, when it's triggered in verbal conversation, makes a mental post-it note. In other words, when you ask someone else to think of what's exciting in their life, the happy side effect is that you become more memorable. So here's my big challenge for today. Instead of using the typical, what do you do, how are you, and where are you from, let's banish those conversation starters forever, and let's try ones that ask the brain to look for hits of excitement. Try working on anything exciting these days. Have any vacations coming up? Anything good happen today? I think this is the greatest gift we can give our fellow human beings. We are asking them to flip into optimism. We're triggering dopamine and excitement and getting them off autopilot. The last way that we're contagious is emotionally. So this study is one of my favorites. In this experiment, they asked students to sing the song, Don't Stop Believing, into an accuracy software. Now, this is a very nerve-wracking experiment. They're graded on vocal tone, words, and they're given no preparation. But they did 3 different trials of this experiment. First, they had them just walk into the room and sing into an accuracy software. The second group got into the room and had to say out loud, I'm nervous. And the last group had to walk into the room and say, I'm excited. They found that this simple reframe, the nervous group got 53% accuracy, the control group got 69%, but the I'm excited group got 80% accuracy. Why? Anxiety and excitement are very similar emotions. The only difference is mindset. So my challenge for you today is to think about how you want to infect people. When you want to harness incitement or trigger excitement, ask dopamine-worthy conversation starters, use more hand gestures, make authentic smiles, and never pick up the phone in a bad mood. Now, the last thing I want to do is I want to end on a note of excitement. I want to make you really infectious. So what we're going to do to end this talk is on the count of 3, with all of the energy you can muster, I want you to yell out, "I'm excited." Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm excited! You rock, Ted.